Welcome, and tonight we've got a really unique opportunity. We're doing a little bit of a meet the maker. I'm standing here with Chris Hole, our design and developer for the product range for the new Ford Ranger, specifically around our bull bars. What we have in front of us here, of course, is our new deluxe bull bar for the next generation Ford Ranger. So we're going to go through a few questions, get into the real nitty gritty to find out about what went into the design, some really pressing information about airflow and cooling and all other kinds of bits and fun pieces. So Chris, let's start with just the basics. What was the design brief? What were you looking to achieve with this bar?
I guess what we wanted to keep in mind was the engineers developed this vehicle with a real nice front end. We wanted to stay true to that. So all the design lines and design cues, we wanted to work backwards from the design of what Ford actually did. So as you can see, the Kato straps, so they were laid back on the uprights, the contours of the tubes, it all just emphasizes that front end. And that was our design brief. We wanted to not take away from the front end, but enhance on that front end and obviously give people what they wanted.
Yeah, absolutely. So I guess, we can't go out and tell somebody aesthetically what looks good. That's really up to them.
Correct.
But what are some of the practicalities, I guess, that have been built into the bar, just to make sure it really is a functional piece of equipment for Ford drivers?
So I guess one of the main things was we wanted to keep the bar as close to the car as possible. So what that does is two things. One, we all know modern garages are very short these days, so we brought the bar close in to be able to get into the garage. The second thing was sitting in the driver's seat, you just didn't want to see a big bull bar protruding out the front over the front of the vehicle. So you sit in the car and you can actually see over that bonnet and actually give you a clear vision when you're off-road, tackling obstacles and stuff like that. The other thing was, by laying these Kato straps back on the uprights, it actually kept in with the styling of the grille as well.
Yeah, well, talking practicalities, one thing that I really like is the fact that we've got the aerial tabs on the real outer wings. I know I have seen some of the other manufacturers who are mounting them more inward on the bar, so I think that's a really nice practical addition. Yeah,
there's two reasons for that, Mark. One is that no one wants to see an aerial right in front of their vision. Obviously that line of sight you want to keep nice and clear. You don't want it flapping away in the wind. The other thing too is, with all the safety features of the car, we've actually got to keep the aerials all the way out to the out of the vehicle to keep out of the vision of the camera in the front of the mirror. So that in itself needed us to put them more way out to the side.
Safety features is probably a really good segue. Obviously, everyone really wants to make sure these cars have just got so many safety features on them these days. We've got radars and all the other kind of collision alerts. What's gone into ensuring the safety standards of the vehicle have carried through with the addition of the bull bar?
So all the safety features are still met. The integration of the factory parking sensors, the integration of the factory camera, and the biggest thing for me was trying to keep it simple. So we've basically taken the genuine radar bracket and radar and the cover, and all we've done is moved it up and it just bolts straight back into the bar. Ease of fitment was always the key here. We wanted to design a bull bar that it was easy. So you could actually unbolt something and bolt it straight in rather than have to use fiddly bits and pieces to actually create a bracket and then put the bracket in. It was just simply unbolt what Ford had already created and put it straight into the bar.
Great. Well, of course, the predominant reason we've always put bull bars on our cars is for the prevention towards animal strike and to maintain our cars. So, for the Ford Ranger owners out there, what have we done to ensure the strength and rigidity is maintained in this bar?
Yeah, Mark, so traditionally our bars are actually 4mm and a little bit lighter gauge on the outside. So we've done an upgrade this time around. We've gone 4mm on the whole bar. So your wings, your center, they're 4mm. Your uprights, which aren't just welded to the top, they actually go through the whole length of the bar. So giving that anchoring strength through the middle here. The tubes are 50mm, and that 4mm steel actually goes down through to the bottom as well. So the actual first plate is actually 4mm as well.
So traditionally that plate, as you're referring to there, has kind of always been a stone guard. It's just been for a little bit of protection against your radiator, stones flicking up and hitting it. So now that we're talking 4mm, we're getting basically 180 degrees of coverage. We're almost giving our customers a bash plate.
A UBP, yeah, correct.
Included in the bar.
Like in the design process, we realised that a lot of that protection underneath is needed because of the radiator and the intercooler. So the intercooler on this vehicle actually sits really, really low. So we needed to protect that. So adding a 4mm UBP or skid plate has actually added that extra strength. And we've actually put double pedestals as well. So it actually mounts to the bar and it mounts to the intercooler bracket as well.
Yeah, right. Well, I guess for me, that's about ramp over angle as well. I mean, just give you that confidence. You are off-road, you're potentially going to hit something, stumps and things, river crossings, rocks underneath there. Having that strength there, I think, is actually really important. But you've probably given us a great segue into something else, which is we're talking radiators and intercoolers and therefore cooling and the performance of the vehicle. What have you done? What have we integrated to ensure that customers are maintaining that performance?
Like we spoke about earlier, traditionally your winch access holes are at the top. So by deleting those up the top, we shorten the bar like we spoke about. Then we moved the winch access holes to the front here. So what they've done is give us greater access. We've got actually air ducts on the side here, but then we've gone one step further. Underneath here, we've actually got a bolt-in baffle that actually is directing that air straight up into the intercooler, right into the intercooler itself.
So we've got recovery points that are included in the price of the bar. That's unheard of. 16mm radius, great for soft shackles, that's fantastic. And the way they're mounted, mounted directly to the chassis?
Directly to the chassis with a vertical and a horizontal mounting.
Obviously, so for recovery points, we know that people are using it for snatch straps, but realistically, self-recovery is another big one.
Yeah. Like I
winches,
said,
what are we doing in regards to mounting winches into the Ford Ranger?
So most of our competitors are actually staying under 12,000 pound winch. We're actually gone to a 12. So the reason for that is we actually got a torque tube on our cradle, and our cradle is actually mounted up underneath the chassis. So it's actually putting that load on the chassis rails rather than on the front of the bar.
Yeah, so some designs, from what I understand, the winch might be actually incorporated into the bull bar, so it's actually being mounted directly to the bull
Correct.
bar. So we're mounting directly to the chassis.
To the chassis, correct. I've never really understood that. Like, you're putting all that extra weight over the front of the vehicle, and then when you're winching, all that load is going on the front bull bar bolts, like the cradle bolts that hold the bar on. So you're cantilevering off those bolts.
And putting a little bit of additional stress through the bar and the bar mounts and the lines.
I don't know if you've ever seen some of those YouTube fails where they're actually winching and the bar rips off. It's generally because the winch is bolted to the bar.
Yeah, right.
Because the bolts snap off.
Yeah.
All that load is going through those bolts, and most of the bolts that people use are M10, and it's not going to hold that load.
I guess for those of you that don't know at home, that are thinking about and understanding winches, there is a bit of an industry standard with winches, and it is to fit a winch that sits somewhere between 1.5 and 2 times the weight of your vehicle. Now, the Ford Ranger comes off the showroom at 3350 GVM, and of course we know that many of our customers do look for a GVM upgrade, which we'll naturally be supplying in the future. But when you do the maths on this, a 3350 kilo vehicle out at 1.5 to 2 times the weight, you're actually sitting, you have to be north of 11,000 pounds.
12 is perfect.
A 12 really is the right answer. Ours is perfect for a synthetic. Of course, our Monster 12,000 pound synthetic winch is our choice of winch to put into this vehicle. So definitely worth doing your homework and understanding which bars out there do and don't offer a 12,000 pound winch compatibility.
As you probably noticed, there's no winch control box on the front of the bar.
No.
Yeah, so I've actually done a little bit of a magic trick here, Mark. We've actually, the control box electrical side of the plug is actually mounted up underneath the bar here. And then what we've got is an electrical cable that goes from here to the control box. So we've actually got an optional extra bracket that actually mounts up underneath that inner guard and mounts the control box up in there.
And that's obviously giving us a really nice clean look. The other thing I can see here is we've got ourselves a nice little funky flip up number plate.
Mate, that's also included in the bar.
Oh, so the fog lights are an LED?
Yeah, and they're all included in that one price.
Right.
So the other thing too is the parking sensors. We actually designed a parking sensor holder off the OE style. So what that means is the sensor actually clips into the sensor holder. So on this model, you can have 4 or 6 sensors, or you can have no sensors. So we've got an option for all of those. Right. The other thing too is if you don't have a radar, we actually have an integration of another mesh piece that actually bolts into that front as well.
I think that's one of the other things that really struck with me is that if you look at the front of this bar, apart from these buffers, which we touched on a little bit earlier, that they are actually, they've got an integral practical feature, but there's no other plastic pretty much to be seen.
That's right.
We've got a metal grille, everything that we're seeing on the bar is metal, and that I think is really important.
It was all about strength and integrity. Like you said earlier on those animal strikes, we wanted to make sure that the bar stood up to it. So we included the 4mm steel through the whole bar, like I said earlier, the uprights, all that extra strength is going to come out.
So it's clear that quality has been at the absolute centre of the design. And to that point, I think one thing that always does lay in people's minds is about what goes into preparing a bar like this to make sure that that the final coating. This one's colour coded, but when they come out powder coated, what's the process? Yeah,
so like I said earlier, the bars are all laser cut, they're all folded, they're all robot welded. They then go into a phosphate bath, then E-coated, and then powder coated for that toughness.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, I think we've pretty much have to have covered on most things by now, I would think. And I guess when I look at the bar, there's got to be a few kind of things you kind of walk away from going, absolutely nailed it. For me, I'm looking at quality. To think that we've gone to 4mm steel over the entire bar is just, it's a bit of peace of mind.
Yeah.
the £12,000 winch to me is a real
It's a winner,
standout.
yeah.
The fact that we've actually considered, realistically what the winch should be rated to, and that we've got a bar that can handle it, I think is fantastic. And then finally for me, it's probably air cooling and just the things that went into making sure that we're really protecting our
Occupants,
vehicle.
our loved ones, yeah.
Oh guys, I think that is us for the night. Chris, thank you so much for
Thank
having
you.
the time to come and talk about this. And I know you've been so good, we might even have you back again.
Mate, I've got some more for you. I've got side steps, brush bars, rear bar, and I've got a bar that's going to just blow your mind.
Fantastic. Now, of course, guys, as we've said, if you've got any questions, chuck them down below. But we hope that this has given you a really good insight into what went into the design and development of this bar. We're really proud of it. We think it's the best value for money, bang for buck bar on the market. But we hope this has helped, and we look forward to seeing you soon in one of our Ironman 4x4 stores.